They were never in
They were my team to disappoint this year.
They were never in that game.
They were literally never in
Yet it was still a close-ass game.
because Jalen Hurts stinks.
Welcome back. Today we have another division preview. Our first one of the summer. There's going to be one of these every single week in Stain.
Another division preview, but this is our first one.
Yeah, we're gonna have a few out here. We're starting in probably the most talked about division in football right now, with a lot of controversy around a lot of teams. The AFC North. Browns, Steelers.
Are we the most talked about division?
Between the Browns and the Steelers, I think so, yeah. Because neither of them have a quarterback.
Facts.
So we have Jack settling on the couch.
Quarterbacks.
Yeah, Browns got quarterbacks.
A lot. They just don't know who's starting. But we do have Jack on the couch, obviously the Ravens fan in the room. So we decided to bring him on as the guest for this division. Obviously, we have Nicholas and J-Mo on the other side. We have the schedule to your left, the team total, Super Bowl winner odds, as well as the player props for this team. We're going to start with the Browns. They're the lowest win total team. We're going to go lowest to highest. And obviously, the only player right now on the board is David Njoku because of what I would say the quarterback controversy of who's going to start. They have no idea. I'm assuming the running backs will be the very same boat with not a lot of clear vision there. Do they re-sign Nick Chubb? Do they not? Nicholas, let's just start with you. Like, looking at the schedule, looking at the team total.
Brutal.
What do you think? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you're thinking Browns right now?
I mean, 4.5 win totals, tough scene. Schedule,
Terrible.
yeah, I don't
no,
see
it's
a lot of easy winnable. I mean, Tennessee, Vegas, Miami, New England. Yeah, there's not a lot of gimmies there. 4.5 makes sense. I mean, to me, it's going to come down to, I guess, what they're doing at quarterback. I don't really know who's going to start the season. My assumption was Joe Flacco, but I don't even know if I feel really comfortable about saying that. If, like, Gabriel or Pickett win the race, does Shador get hot,
Pickett race.
like, towards the end of the season?
Someone's got to get cut, no?
Yeah, they have 5.
They have
on
5
their-
QBs. Yep.
5 quarterbacks.
5
I guess,
being Deshaun.
would Deshaun
Yeah.
count
He
against
won't
their
count, I don't
active
think.
roster, though, because he's injured?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to think. I don't think it will.
I don't think okay.
But still, of the 4 active guys, one of those will still have to go, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you remember last year, we started looking at like schedules and everything, and one of our biggest clips we had on this channel is we were like, yeah, Vikings starting 0-9. This is where I'm like, I think they would do the same thing, where they could start 0-9 going into the bye week, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like, this team is just in
I don't know
shambles.
who they're going to beat.
No, I don't know. Like, that's.
I mean, I think after the first 4 weeks, I don't know how stable Cleveland would be, but like Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, New England, you could win one of those games easily.
I think New England's gonna be sneaky good, and I think
Me too. I
it's
think
gonna
every
be
team
hard.
could be like sneaky good, but I also like hate when people look at schedules and they're just like rattling like this is an impossible schedule, and there's like 6 teams that are probably going to win 7 games.
at us for real. All right, Jack, what are your thoughts looking at the schedule?
4.5
looking at the
feels
team?
really low for a Browns team that they're not going to be tanking, so they're going to be competing. They own Cincy.
Why wouldn't they be taking?
They just drafted 2 quarterbacks. Like,
I
I
think
feel
that-
like
I mean, next year's class, though, and
Nuts.
they have the Jags first if they need to trade up. Like, they are in a great spot to tank.
well, if they have the Jags first, then it's even less of a reason that they would be tanking.
I disagree. Like, they say they
I'm
land
not-
like the 4 pick and they have the Jags pick. That could be the ammo to get them to the 2 or the 3.
That's my point.
Or
That
say
they
they even
wouldn't need to go all the way down to the 2 or the 1.
You don't think they would try to go? I mean, obviously these are just like names, but like Drew Lar next year's class is a highly looked at prospect. I mean, it's
I
just
don't know enough.
it
Drew
is.
Aller fucking sucks.
It just
he's
it
like
just
the 5th
is,
quarterback
but it is.
in the class.
He's right now rated as like the guy.
No, he's
to
not.
get.
Arch is rated as the guy. And by the way,
Arch, we have no.
All right,
basis
regardless,
on.
but taking a step back, do you guys really think these teams just tank like that?
no, they don't.
They don't. I don't.
The Patriots
I don't think
literally
they do.
won their Week 18 game, which cost them
Shout
the
out
top
Joe.
pick.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Milton injury.
they still have a good defense, no?
No, they do.
They were super banged up last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think people forget about that. The division, like the AFC North, we faced the NFC North, which last year had a great year, which is why on paper it looks very difficult. And even more so because the Browns finished in the same slot. Oh, no, they got their extra game is through San Fran. So they picked up on paper once again like a very difficult looking game.
Yeah.
Another thing that looks difficult is you play Cincy twice, you play Pittsburgh twice because you're in the division.
I don't think those games are that scary.
That's
I
my
think they could
point.
split both
But
of those
when
games,
you
yeah.
exactly, but when you look at it and you're like Burrow and like Pittsburgh, you're like that could be 0-4, and then obviously the Ravens. So I don't think it's as scary as it looks. New England could be overhyped. The Jets could be overhyped. Okay. Minnesota could regret. So I actually like their over if they go to like Flacco.
Okay. So I gun to your head, you're picking over.
For sure.
Okay. J-Mo, where are you at? Gun to your head, over 4.5, under 4.5.
Is Jim Schwartz still the DC?
Is that going to be your deciding factor?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, he had like 2 years ago. He was like #1 defense.
I could look it up. I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
They still have Stefanski, who's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. I don't think you understand. Like, Deshaun Watson was the worst quarterback on the planet.
No,
it's still Jim Schwartz.
And he got Baker to the playoffs.
And, like, I
think he's a good coach, but, like, I actually don't think if I sat down and ranked, he'd make the top 10.
I also think Myles Garrett wasn't re-signing if they weren't at least going to try. I know he made it like, oh, I want to win, and then he obviously signed for the money. But, like, when you have a player that good, he's the third best player in the NFL. I saw someone's rankings on that. Yeah.
By the GOAT power ranker, right?
GOAT power.
How do we feel about, like, obviously we can talk about, like, wins or whatever, but, like, Njoku's line at 700 receiving yards with no quarterback basis, I feel like it's just, like, a high line. High line.
I mean, I posted a split of him with Joe Flacco. His games are insane when he's playing with Joe.
He's averaging like
Joe
80
Flacco.
yards a game.
80 yards a game. He's actually been really good for like the last 3 years consistently.
He's just hurt.
When he's not hurt.
Right. That would be the fear with Njoku.
Sure.
It's just health.
I also think
he's not the player I bet a season-long prop on.
100%. I also think there's a huge narrative. Like, they're going to try to push Shador. They're going to try to push someone else outside of Flacco to probably start, just out of the pure publicity side of it.
The favorite right now, betting-wise, is Pickett. And Flacco was third. It was Pickett.
Flacco's third to start.
Like, if Pickett's announced, I'm slamming the under on Njoku 10 out of 10 times.
But I feel like if Pickett starts, he's really likely to just lose that job relatively quickly.
But even if he loses it, like, if he loses it to Shador, Shador's going to start at some point in the season.
All right. I get you on the yardage. And remember, they
Touchdowns.
have Jerry Jeudy returning.
This is just yards.
So they finally
have
have, like, a guy on the outside.
Yeah.
I think Pickett is not good.
Yes.
But the two things that we have to acknowledge. One, Arthur Smith, like, was he Arthur Smith offense?
Arthur Smith has been
2 years in Pittsburgh?
I think he was 1 year. Yeah, his first year.
Regardless, he had
2024.
Matt Canada.
2024.
Also,
yeah, bad OC.
Bad OC.
Yeah.
But number two, even with his bad OCs, and I'm not talking about Njoku here, I'm talking win total.
Yeah.
I know they had an elite defense in Pittsburgh, but, like, he would win games.
No, yeah.
And he just played on the Eagles, so, like, maybe he learned something. You could pitch
Super Bowl champion.
You could pitch like almost like a Darnold route where he was bad in a bad situation, then he goes to San Fran and sees how to play as a winning quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere near them, but they won 13, 14 games. I just need to win.
I feel like Minnesota's total last year was still like 6.5.
It was.
It was
they blew through it.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Darnold's always had his hive though. Like there's no like Kenny Pickett people on Twitter being like
preseason
give this
against
guy
Atlanta
his,
though 2 years ago.
I remember. But then he played the full game. The full season was terrible, and there aren't people like believing in him still.
Okay.
Except for Jack.
All right.
No, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate, but I do like over 4.5.
I like the over, but I agree. Like taking anything statistically attached to Cleveland is really difficult to do with all the uncertainty.
Fair enough. I would also lean the over 4.5, just a little bit too low. And now all of us are going to hook when they have 4.
I'll go under.
Sprinkle
on SBW. In SBW.
Little 20 to 1. How you done? All right, we're going to the next.
20 to 1. That's 200 to 1, brother.
I'm about to say 21.
Sorry, my fault. Going on to the next one, we have the Steelers here. 8.5 is the win total. DK is the only player, again, as of right now. We have no idea what their QB situation is going to look like. Is it Rodgers? We don't know.
What's your lean on that for Rodgers?
I don't care. I just liked his podcast with Rogan.
Will my lean?
Jalen, what you thinking, kid?
That COVID was a conspiracy.
You think he signs with them?
Yeah.
That's how I felt. It just like the puzzle just fits together too perfectly with them.
Who's in the,
I think the
building right now?
Are just too.
Mason Rudolph, I think, is back there.
Right. Rudolph and Will Howard.
Steelers are like too strong of an organization.
They're not. I need to poke a hole in that. They have not been a good organization in like 10 years. We've talked about this. All they do is middle. That is not the sign of a good organization. They've never made a move.
Yeah.
Like over the last 10 years. DK is their big move.
You said never made a move. I gave you a very recent.
No, that's not a big move. They swapped DK for Pickens.
You're talking about a quarterback move?
I'm talking about like going for it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like that. Mike Tomlin has still not gone under 8.5 wins in his career in Pittsburgh. They have not won a playoff game since 2014.
Something like that, yeah.
Is that the sign of a good organization? Or is that the sign? Okay, here's another one.
I can tell you what
are
a
the
bad organization
Are the
is.
Patriots a good or a bad organization?
Good.
Good, yeah.
I think it'd be crazy to call them bad.
Okay. And at least they're trying to go through the flows and motions of it. They trade up or they get Mac, and then they get off
I
Mac.
don't think we're saying like Rodgers is the greatest move, but I think it's a move you can like buy into.
By the
versus
way,
whatever the fuck is nothing.
Dead ass. If they're a good organization, how would bringing in Aaron Rodgers be a good move, given everything he's done over the last 24 months?
They've been going down a very weird quarterback path. It's kind of like what the Colts were doing, like after Andrew Luck, where you just keep re-signing old veterans and be like, no, he's actually still good enough to like lead us. But I don't know. I guess like if you're in the building though, the Steelers have that elite defense where it's like, can we just hit on a guy who won't fuck it up for a full season? And that's what Aaron Rodgers might provide for them. It feels like they're way too calm with what their quarterback room is right now. That's like the biggest leading point to Rodgers coming back to. Where are they really?
There was so much hype around Shadur going to the Steelers, and they had every goddamn chance to take him at whatever value they wanted, and they still didn't.
I think they're genuinely happy with Mason Rudolph because I follow Pittsburgh. I'm not saying it's smart.
Define happy.
We gotta count.
Like they want to start him. And like that's their plan.
God, it scares me that I wouldn't be like really shocked if they went down that fucking route.
I don't know why or how,
So
but they are.
You're slamming the under, clearly.
I do think this is the first year that they go under.
Okay.
The win total.
Yes.
Win total 8.5.
Yeah.
J-Mo, gun to your head. Rodgers, your guy. 8.5 is the line.
I think if Rodgers signs, I would take the over.
Okay, Nicholas.
Yeah, I think they're an 8-win team, probably regardless.
What do you think the total drops to with Rodgers not signing? Say he signs somewhere else. Where do you think that goes?
Like, do you think
It's probably worth a game. No.
I think 6.5.
No.
7.5?
I feel like it has to drop
I think
down
so.
on that. Like, there's no way they put
Mason Rudolph at quarterback. No one's taking him over 7.5 wins.
I'm telling you, it would be if it was 6.5, it would be heavily juiced to the over, like minus 165.
I gotta also say, like, I don't think Vegas would price this so aggressively without knowing Aaron Rodgers there. Like, this has to be some sort of middle ground of like maybe Rodgers, decent chance that Mason Rudolph too. So I don't think they'd drop it.
Here's a good one. If Rodgers confirms sign, what would you put the win total at?
I'd keep it there.
Okay, so you think this number's baked in completely to Rodgers signing?
I just don't think.
There's
Vegas
no chance it
operates like
jumps
that,
to
though.
9.5.
Agreed.
No shot. No.
Regardless, DK though,
I think it's too high. I think I'm going under.
you could paint me the picture of him getting, a 35% target share, but I also feel like kind of had that with Pickens. Again, going back to an Arthur Smith offense, like ruins number one receiver, statistically speaking, at least.
Every single time.
I'm also just worried, like, DK is not the type of receiver Rodgers likes.
Yeah.
He wants a route runner.
But he is the one Mason Rudolph fucks with.
Yeah, and DK gets no separation, which is the hardest part. Is like he's not that
of being a receiver is when he can't get open.
Yeah,
he drops
a
the ball.
lot.
Can't
catch, can't get
like
open.
if George Pickens wasn't making George Pickens types catch last year, like how many receiving yards?
I
would
think
he have?
875 is a great number, but I think I'm going to go under that.
I would go under the touchdowns before anything.
That's a high
else.
touchdown.
Yeah, 7.5 is a
too.
lot.
That feels like they're.
I think they scored 8 last year.
Yeah.
As a team.
Yeah.
Like Pickens there over the last 3 years, I think has had 4 receiving touchdowns, 5 and 3 or something like that. And again, when you look at Arthur Smith with like AJ Brown, he just depletes those types of receiver numbers.
Yeah, but big
He's a good OC.
big coach of the year come back, Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
This is going to be Arthur's best quarterback he's ever had.
Wait till you see what Smith does with Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph?
No, Rodgers.
I mean, Rudolph would
Rudolph
still be
low-key
his
could
best.
be the best.
No, it's Rodgers.
Is there a chance Rudolph's like not bad?
No.
When has he ever played? Played like 2 games, right?
I mean, he's just been in flashes for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Okay, we can move on.
And last year, he got a chance.
That's all they had for lines.
That's all they had for the Steelers. I mean,
Caleb
the Steelers
Johnson,
are just
1,100 yard lines gonna be a movie.
Caleb has nothing yet. I think again, until they know who the quarterback is, it's hard to judge anything of the offense of a product. But we do have a ton of lines for the next two teams. Bengals, Ravens are the next two, but we're starting with the Bengals. 9.5 is the win total. Obviously, Joe Burrow put up a MVP-like season last year. Jamar Chase, Offensive Player of the Year. T. Higgins had a great year despite being hurt for a lot of time. And the schedule doesn't look bad. I think the schedule is actually pretty good. So what are your guys' thoughts on 9.5 originally off the jump? What are your thoughts on the schedule and how it's looking? And obviously, these are very high lines for great players, but where are you at with this one? Defense didn't really improve much.
God bless week 13 through 15.
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule makers really said, let's see what you're made of.
It definitely seems high. It feels like, they're in full bounce back mode, but I also don't know. I don't know what position they're in to have a heavy bounce back. Like on defense, what's going on with Trey Hendrickson? Is he playing for them? Is he going to be out there?
No idea.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the vibes there are bad. Like you get Trey Hendrickson out of there, and there goes 18 sacks off of your team.
Yeah.
You don't think there's any chance he plays under? Like he just like whatever.
I guess
yeah. Like
I thought Chase would play, which he did. I think
we gotta roll that clip from last year. He
there's no chance that Cincy actually pays him, and that's different. Like I thought they would bend the knee to Chase, but they're out of money. Like they physically don't have the cash to do it. Will he sit? At this point in his career, you probably should sit out. Although he's kind of late in his career.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like, is this going to be Hassan Reddick where it's like you got nothing out of that?
Yeah.
So he's seeking a trade though, no?
Yeah.
Like they've allowed that.
Yeah. Because they won't pay him. Right. Cincy, I will say defense didn't get better. Could argue got worse, but I don't think they're a 32nd ranked defense.
Who'd they hire as their new DC? I forget. I gotta look that up.
So I think if you improve defensively, you would think they would win a couple more games. But they were also one of the top offenses in the NFL. They look like they should be. Yeah, they should kind of come in from the edges there.
Al Golden replaced them.
Here's the thing. This is actually a huge year for Burrow.
Oh, Notre Dame.
If you remove that one kind of run to the Super Bowl, you've got a year and a half of good football from the Bengals with him, and then you've got a few bad years with injuries mixed in. So it's like it's tough. The last person I said that about was Hurts, and he won a Super Bowl. So.
Numbers aside, because I just feel like the Bengals' offensive numbers are extremely skewed based on how bad their defense was and how many. Like Joe Burrow had to throw the ball 655 times last year, so it's kind of unfair to compare his stats. Do you put Burrow in like the upper echelon? Like J-Mo, where'd you have him ranked on the board today?
5.
I think that's probably, I guess, about right.
He's MVP odds are plus 700.
Yeah, which I don't hate because I do think like he'll still probably come in around the same.
He's got to cook
statistical numbers, and he needs a little bit of luck to break his way. If they make the playoffs and he puts up the same stats as last year, I think there's a really good chance he takes.
I think he's going to win MVP.
Yeah,
I was talking to an NFL player, and they said like the NFL wants him to be the like next golden child.
He just plays the game the right way.
Yeah, he's just a guy that
they want him to kind of
like
step into that, and so I think that becomes the narrative. If the NFL's Instagram posts Burrow 3 more times than Josh Allen, like that stuff actually matters.
So,
I don't know if you can win MVP though if you don't win the division.
No, you can't. You historically you actually have to be a top 2 seed.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It used to be the bye.
So you don't think like him putting up similar numbers last year and having gotten to the playoffs? No, yeah, sure.
Yeah, just as it's like when we did our MVP preview last year, the criteria is actually like you're a top 5 favorite and you finish as a top 2 seed.
And you pick Kyler.
Much. Huh?
You pick Kyler.
And Kyler and the Cardinals like had the path, but Kyler sucks. That was the misevaluation.
Yeah. Just like Tua on the other side of things. So
like if I had
there's a lot of really good picks out of that show. that was awesome.
I mean, the one thing we got right about that was we were like, there's no way Lamar will win. They won't give it to him until he wins the big like playoff game.
Yeah.
And then he came out and literally put up a season that had never been done before, and he still didn't win. Mm-hmm. So the narrative actually matters. I would say equal to the stats.
But the Ravens weren't a top 2 seed.
We were the 3 seed, right?
I think that matters.
Right, but like it was more a narrative thing because Buffalo played a much weaker schedule. The Ravens played a much tougher schedule. They lost by one game. Lamar killed Allen in the head-to-head. Like, it's all just a narrative.
That, I think, sucks because if he killed him in that in week 17,
there's
a 0% chance Allen wins MVP.
Correct.
Do you think
that's what happened Purdy when Lamar beat Purdy bad.
Week 13, 14, 15 is kind of interesting that you now have this like Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen like head to head. It almost feels like nothing before that will matter for like the MVP race.
That's a good
Obviously,
point.
like Mahomes is probably in there at plus 600 or whatever the fuck he is, but those have got to be the top 4, right?
I would assume, I got to double check on the exact odds.
If you bet Mahomes MVP, you're silly.
But dude, Mahomes could come back. You never know.
See, come back.
Yeah, I'm curious what the MVP overall.
9.5. I'll lean over.
Right now it's Lamar, Allen, Burrow, Mahomes at plus 750. Jaden's right behind him.
That's insane.
850. Hurts at 1,800 is the next fall off.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
tied with Justin Herbert.
The numbers say it will come from those 4.
Yeah.
So I like Burrow. I like the over, and their schedule actually does look a little.
What are you thinking about? I mean, Jamar's line is at 1,300. T's right about at almost 1,000. Like that's.
I think you might have forgotten an @ symbol somewhere because the reason why I think this schedule looks easy is because you have them playing 5 road games.
Yeah, no, definitely. Something probably got messed up there. I can
because I was
there's 6 up there.
There's 6.
There's 6. Not that fixes it completely.
Yeah.
And maybe.
No, there. Oh yeah.
6.
1, 2.
Yeah.
Maybe is there an international game that doesn't?
Maybe.
Okay,
Yeah. They play Miami. No, but that's even. They play Miami in Spain, so that's one that's counted too. My point is, like, I was looking at that 5 through 10 stretch through 12, and it was like one road game. Seems unlikely.
I feel like they never give you more than 3 in a row.
Correct.
Detroit
normally
So this is at Minnesota is the one we're at Minnesota, then at Broncos, home, at Green Bay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then the rest of it.
Yeah, and the at Min and at Green Bay makes that a little tougher.
Yeah.
But I still think
I still feel like 9.5 is definitely doable for the squad, even with the banged up defense, or not banged up, the bad defense.
Yeah.
Bringing in Notre Dame's defensive coordinator definitely is a positive sign. Al Golden could definitely do some damage and see how he adjusts the defense comparatively. Where I felt like last year they ran a ton of zone with like a bad secondary, which led to just more problems. So we'll see how that can complement this year and how they can do. Are you going to sprinkle any of these like player props? Do you like any of them, or are you kind of just sticking to?
I think my favorite one on the board would be the Burrow MVP.
Really?
Yeah, I think
700.
Yeah, I think you could just make the case of how that just like works.
Okay.
My favorite would be T's under.
Really? 950? Injured again?
The yards?
Yeah. I don't. It feels very difficult to have 2,000-yard receivers.
Yeah.
And T's just a guy that, like, we know the ability is there. But to hit a 1,000-yard season, you need, like, insane consistency, not just the pop weeks. And I feel like even when he's playing, like, if you get 14 games out of T, he'll have, like, 4 games where he has 40 yards. And that just makes it very difficult.
It's really easy to get hyped about last year's numbers that were pumped, but he also he scored an insane amount of touchdowns in a limited number of games, so that kind of lingers with you. It's like T was so good last year, and he looked better last year than he's ever looked, even when just watching him play. Maybe it carries over, but I kind of agree. I think there's a lot more that can go wrong for him than probably right.
J-Mo?
I like Burrow's yards.
Over?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think last year he hit like a stretch of like 6 games, like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns in a row. I don't expect that again, but I also think he started off really kind of shaky.
I think if I were to lean anything, I'd take the riskiness and go under 10.5 receiving touchdowns for Jamar. I think that line's insanely high. Obviously, it's 17 last year, but I think to repeat, like
he was putting up like 2 a week.
It was insane. There's no way that that's like sustainable for 2 years straight. I feel like I'm more taking it of just like the odds of him having 2 insane back-to-back seasons, because for him to hit both of these lines.
Yeah, but what if he just clipped like 12? Like, I feel like if he plays, he's a 12-touchdown guy.
Fair.
He's pretty unguardable.
He's not.
He's just so good in the red zone too, where it's like I feel like he's the first target down there every time. But I guess if T's maybe
Like if T's healthy, I feel like it
he
definitely
becomes an
skews
end
it.
zone target for sure.
T's
don't
huge,
know.
6'4" frame.
Yeah, but that's like the big, like people think
That's like
of,
the biggest scam.
Yeah,
in the
like
NFL.
people think like T's like this big guy, but it really just ends up being like Chase running around wide open,
Yeah, fair.
like some little
fair
fucking
enough.
outlaw.
Side note, are you in on Chase Brown this year?
I
You're
forgot I was cooking.
You're gonna
you guys.
overthink it.
1,400 yards for Henry. Stop.
That's what the line is.
That's insane.
You
Heading
don't think so?
to
That's
the
insane.
Ravens side of things. No, these are the accurate lines that are on BetMGM as of right now. 11.5 is the win total. Super Bowl winner.
Buffalo.
Plus
Sunday Night Football.
700.
No, it'll be fun. So like we'll watch all the games on Sunday, and then from 7 to 8:30 when they kick, they'll play the Andrews clip like 47 times, and that'll be good.
Then you'll be like,
what
mentally
play?
prepared. The Mark
Andrews.
Andrews drop catch.
Like the last game we played was against Buffalo.
Yeah.
Our first 4 weeks are a nightmare, obviously.
They are. You
Besides
kind of got
Cleveland.
a nice schedule down the stretch though.
We do.
Like
Yeah, next
9
time.
through 17.
Yeah.
There's no spooky hours down there.
No. Yeah, Joe from the sidelines yelling about the
sure.
Jets.
For sure.
Plus 700 Super Bowl odds. I'm assuming you're going to take.
I gotta lock into what the Ravens were cooking. I kind of detached from the team after Buffalo. It's just a brutal loss.
Yeah.
Is there anything this offseason that you have been excited about?
Have been no, because we really are
Fire.
we kind of just brought the squad back for the most part. We did lose our Darius Washington, who's going to be the
He
starting
just
safety.
got hurt. He
Yeah.
tore his Achilles.
But I love Malachi Starks.
Me too.
I think he is going to be a baller.
And he will be a great Raven,
No,
like a
yeah.
classic
Nate
like,
Wiggins in year 2.
veteran.
Yeah.
Right. Wiggins in year 2 should be special. I think
there's a lot. Like, I think this defense is so good. And I think,
Yeah.
like, obviously the
Yeah.
offense has a ton of potential as long as everyone stays healthy. Like, 11.5 feels like easy for me.
Who was the Ravens linebacker that was just in the trivia from the 90s? Do you remember his name?
Someone with a B is the last name.
Bulware, Peter
Bosworth?
Bulware.
Yep. No,
Peter
yeah.
Bowler,
Yeah, okay. We had no idea who that was.
Yeah.
Apparently
he
a
was,
legend.
He was a
Yeah.
Pro Bowler. I mean, it's essentially like when Lamar's your quarterback and you're a Ravens organization and you have an elite defense, like you're just gonna win a lot of games. Like Lamar just wins football games.
Derrick
And
Henry's your running back.
yeah, I think that,
1400.
1,400 is.
Crazy.
I'm taking the. I would be the first to say I'll probably lean the under.
I would
Just
lean
off-
the under just because I would think we want to lean off him and keep
Have
him
to.
fresh. Because this team, once again, for like the 5th straight year, their goal is to win a Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
they're going to manage that. Now,
When you
getting
say
the
lean-
1 seed.
When you say lean off him, though, do you imagine that going more into Lamar's hands, or do you imagine a second running back?
Justice really played well last year. And I think they trust
What
him
about
to.
Keaton?
But not as like a runner, though. Like you guys don't have
No.
you don't have a
Correct.
runner.
Not as much as a runner. But Keaton, and if Keaton and Justice grab 5-6 carries, maybe even 4 carries, I think.
Yeah, just doesn't feel like that actually takes anything off Henry, because it's not like you were expecting him to catch fucking passes anyways.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised you guys didn't grab like a 4th rounder that you can actually give 5 carries to
know.
and like have a nice fucking day.
They
off
just
of it.
went, they extended Henry, so he must still have some juice.
Yeah.
Zay's touchdowns seem awfully low.
That's just what he does. Like he doesn't.
That's just.
Well,
who
I'm
he
starting to
is.
look at receivers for like fantasy, and I get to Zay, and I'm like, he's so fun, and he's such a good receiver, but realistically, he catches 70 to 75 passes a year, and we're now in a league where guys catch 90, 95, 100 catches consistently, and the top like 15 to 20 guys pretty much do that, and it's like, where does Zay fit into the landscape of like stats? And Lamar doesn't really deliver high-end wide receivers. And I listen, like
No, for sure.
Luck can definitely break towards.
I said that
Zay's
last
way.
year when Zay was ranked highly. I was like,
Yeah.
why would you ever take a Lamar Jackson wide receiver 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. And the other thing too is like Rashad kind of like actually turned
scored
into
a bunch of
a
touchdowns.
really good deep threat.
It's
for Lamar
the big play is likely. Likely he's going to have a ridiculous
Yeah.
year.
How do you feel about Derrick Henry 13.5 touchdowns? I feel like I like the touchdown line way more than I like fading the rushing yard line. Just because, like,
Yeah.
when you're within 5 yards, you know he's getting the rock at least twice, and then they're just going to
It's
punch
interesting that you like that, but not like Chase though.
Yeah, I think Chase.
That's
There's
the
more.
really big
There's
line,
way
too.
more options on that Bengals team than there are on this Ravens team. Like when you're in
It's
the red
because
zone,
T. Higgins is 6'4" and Justice Hill is 5'9". So
and I feel like Chase Brown is going to get more work.
Yeah.
Obviously, like there's more. I feel like there's just more variance in the Bengals team where they can just double chase the entire time down low, make the other players make a play. Where Derek, it's like
What did he
you
get
have
last year?
no other chance.
18, 17?
16. He tied the league lead.
Obviously,
the one thing
back,
I'll
though,
say about the win total is, and maybe this is just my own projection as a fan, they have to be so exhausted and bored of the regular season. Like, all this team cares about is the playoffs at this point. And the amount of focus and attention to detail that it requires to win in the National Football League, like, you just, like, let's say you go 3-3 first, through that first 6-game stretch. You got to finish, what is that? 12. You got to finish 9-2 down the stretch. That's just.
But I feel like that's going to be
difficult.
even more of like a reason why to do well in the regular season is they want that bye week.
Yes, they do want the bye,
Like, I
but
think
but
that's
then
huge.
again, like, we lost a home AFC championship, so it doesn't really matter to them. And if you start 3-3 or even 4-2, it's very difficult to get the bye because there's only one now.
Yeah.
So what's to say that the level of focus when they play Cincy, if let's say they win Cincy and Pittsburgh 13-14, and then you go to at Cincy, and it's the difference between the 2 or the 3, and you're like, just naturally, you might have a little let up.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if we landed on 11.
I'm a little surprised about Lamar's passing numbers. Like, this looks like what it is every other year.
Yeah.
And they're not inflated based off of last year.
I actually agree with that.
I thought they would be a little bit more.
Lamar's
saying some regression's coming.
They expect
Vegas doesn't care.
Yeah, I'm trying to think on the O-line. Like, Stanley's back, Lindy's back. They should be better. To me, it should be the best offense again.
Why did you feel like Flowers' touchdowns were low? Just because if he has like a little bit of luck, he probably gets over that.
Yeah, just like the Ravens scored. I mean, we were scoring
many
30
points,
points a game.
I feel like it was so spread out.
It is,
He's just,
and that's always been his
he's just
thing.
like a
but
0 in the end zone, like
Yeah.
when they get down inside the 10.
It's just Derek.
Yeah.
Like on it.
It's Derek, and then it was like Bateman, and then
And
second half
Andrews.
it was Andrews. I think Andrews could have a little bit of a drop.
Yeah, Andrew's lines not being up is interesting. Like I couldn't.
Well,
find
they
it
thought we were
anywhere.
gonna trade him.
Yeah,
But they're just running it back. I mean, the Ravens they're right there.
yeah, interesting. Gun to your head. Which side you taking? Over under 11.5.
I think when I went through it, I had us 12-5.
Okay.
So I would
Leading
do,
over.
yeah, leading
J-Mo.
over.
Under.
Under.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fucking-
Damn.
Why?
What do you not like?
You think Cincy is more of a force in the North now?
Yeah, I mean, they went 12-5 last year while sweeping Cincy. I don't think they sweep them again. I don't know. I just, I'm not a big fan of like running it back and expecting just repeat numbers. Like I always think.
It's been 5 years straight though. Domination in the regular
Yeah, so
season.
they're more due.
How are you feeling about Henry? I know you're the biggest like anti big running backs 2 years in a row.
I mean, he just is the exception of exceptions. I can't really.
For everything.
Everything.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I wouldn't touch that. I wouldn't put any money on his over-under. That's just
Yeah.
something I would avoid. But last year, I'd have been like, I'm easily fading this.
Yeah.
This year, I'm like,
now you've
enough.
matured. We're older. Another year under the belt.
Like, if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably still take under, but I'm not going to touch
All right.
it.
I wonder if Lamar doesn't run this year. I think that could be in the range of outcomes.
I mean,
like
if you
he
believe
was,
that, though, those passing numbers got to look even extra
For what
juicy.
reason?
he was so good as a passer last season that I think just to protect, like, Monken will probably be like, let's just save as much as we can. And he'll run in. And remember, like, he was around that number last year rushing wise. And I think he had like 100-something rushing yards in the first game. And then he never got anywhere really close to that.
I think a lot of it for sure had to do with like Bateman becoming like a legit second receiver for him. And someone we didn't even bring up, which was another off-season acquisition.
Holy Raven
Like-
of Raven.
Right, like the old receiver that's going to do nothing. He'll have like I bet he'll have a really big catch at some point, a really big spot throughout the season. But I think that's kind of an interesting ad because he's a different receiver than they've had recently. But he's obviously fallen off a fucking cliff.
So sad. Wait, he just scored in the Super Bowl.
Sorry.
Dude, he was
Maybe he'll do that
terrible
for
in
you
the
guys.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was so
He was cool. He went to the Chiefs, had like the big game. Actually, the first game I think was terrible, but then he scored 2 touchdowns. And we're like, Hop's back.
Yeah.
Hop's here.
I was dying for the Ravens to get Hopkins in his prime. Like, I've always wanted him to have that big,
You want the possession.
big possession receiver. Now that person it's actually always been Andrews for him. Like that's the guy. That's the safety.
That's who you go
blanket.
to on the goal line. Like last
Yeah,
catch of the
gotta
game,
have
you
it.
gotta
Like,
have
you
it,
just
fourth
go to
down.
Mandrews for sure.
No, 100%.
Weird shout. Like, I think Loop could lose them a game similar to Tucker. I don't think the kicking will necessarily be better.
Who's your kicker now?
Tyler Loop.
Who's it?
He's a rookie. They drafted him. I think
What
like
round?
thoughts.
5th.
Fire.
Yeah.
But
We're just gonna glance over the Tucker thing.
I want to say like Arizona State, like some
Tucker was cut.
for football
guilty.
reasons.
For football, yeah.
Yeah, football reasons.
I don't know. Like,
No.
No.
They cut him and
for
they just like
football
posted all over Twitter
sucks.
like for football reasons.
They cut him because he sucks.
For football reasons.
Yes. Nick, gun to your head, 11 and a
Football
half.
reasons.
I don't know. I don't really have a take on that. I think I would just stick with the Henry rushing yards.
Okay.
I think I like the under on that.
Would
I
you-
think
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just
Okay.
I think I like JMO's passing over there too.
Would you take Lamar MVP odds? Obviously, he's like front runner with Allen.
What's his odds?
600. Both of them are 600. Would you take that? I mean, Burrow was 700. You're willing to take that?
I'm willing to take that
600.
because again, a lot of what Jack was saying, where it's like it does feel there's like
Face of the league,
there's like a
trying to
push,
push,
like
yeah.
you know they don't always like give the same guy this MVP, especially when there's so many good players at the top. I don't know. I don't hate it because I guess he's only a plus 100 more than or less than Burrow,
Also,
but
I mean, we've discussed how much it matters. I know Cincy is right there, but 16, 17, 18, that's not like your shiniest spots. You know what I mean?
In Green Bay versus
Yeah,
Aaron
it-
Rodgers. The fuck are you talking about?
Like, I don't think any of those are prime time. Like, I think Green Bay is going to be middle of the pack again. And
No pun intended.
that's probably like a 4.
Middle of the pack. They lost to the Super Bowl champions by like 8 points.
nah,
Stop.
they
were never in
they
that
were my
game.
team to disappoint this
They
year
were
too.
never in that game.
They were literally never in
Yet
that
it
game.
was still a close ass game.
Because Jalen Hurts stinks, but they were never in the game.
Yeah, that's going to be the first clip you see on this video. Jalen Hurts sucks. Super Bowl champion. Kenny Pickett is going to lead Cleveland to over 4.5 wins. And the Ravens seems like we're torn on the consensus.
Well, do you guys like him for the Super Bowl?
I wouldn't take him as a Super Bowl winner. No, but I think they're going to be in
If you're out on them as a Super Bowl winner, I'll take them. Because I always follow. For some reason, you always get me onto the bandwagon by the end of the year.
I mean, they're always so fucking good.
Stink and can't close.
They just can't.
can't
The
get
real.
The biggest thing is I think the Chiefs take a step back. So I think this really opens the door for like it's going to be Buffalo or it's going to be Ravens this year.
And I.
Did you see the picture? Did you see the picture of Travis Kelce?
Buffalo's schedule is fucking
Yes.
great.
That
though.
was nuts. Did you see the picture of
The
Travis?
thing
Is
is,
he
I think he might have
chubby?
always looked like that.
He looked
Is
like
he
you,
chubby?
he looked like
He
you
just-
getting on the scale today.
yeah, like he looked like I was
He
like,
was
damn.
280.
He didn't look great.
No, he looks like he's 35.
Yeah, it's just very difficult to win in the league for an extended period
Yeah.
of time. The Ravens should be favored to come out of the AFC again.
I
So
think
good.
I
they're
think
so
Buffalo-
good. But this is the one thing. This will determine it. The Ravens do not turn people over in general, but in the playoffs. And that is all that matters. So even if Lamar plays turnover-free football, they're never winning the turnover differential. And that's the Eagles murdered people. Like, that's how you win in the playoffs is turnover differential. So until they kind of figure that out, and this has been a problem for like 7-8 years. So no matter how good they're
What's the problem? Lack of pressure or lack of ball players?
lack of pressure. So like their pass rushers are like get a lot of coverage sacks, or they're even if they get a sack, it's not disruptive, right? It's Matabike up the middle. It's never like Oweh with a strip sack. It's never forcing a bad throw. Like Kyle didn't have a lot of picks. Marlon doesn't get interceptions. Wiggins doesn't get interceptions. Roquan
Malachi
doesn't.
Starks.
So
I mean, Marlon doesn't get interceptions.
he
Was
did
eating
last year.
Yeah.
and every other was a tipped ball.
But I am parlaying every bet I take between now and the start of the season with the Ravens.
I would take Buffalo.
I haven't
over
hit
them
one
this
of
year.
those bets, but
when you do, you
yeah,
catch.
yeah. So like
That's crazy.
Jalen Brunson first basket tonight plus Ravens Super Bowl.
Oh my god.
What? That's such,
That
a,
would be-
that's such a better way to do it. Instead of putting like 10 grand on the Ravens, I just have it. Eventually, I'll get to the same outcome.
That's diabolical. Let us know in the comments what you guys are taking, who you guys are fading, and if you agree with Jack on his parlay style. Let us know what you guys do in the comments, and we'll catch you guys next time for our next preview. We'll catch you guys. Peace.